special counsel doesn't end there. This is insane. On May 13, 2016, Page says to Strzok, hey, forgot to ask if you mentioned the whole special counsel thing to Andy. Oh, wonder who Andy is. Going from previous texts, we assume that's Andrew McCabe, the deputy FBI director. I know this is a lot to absorb. This is what this all means. Strzok, who played a key and central and pivotal role in the entire Clinton email investigation, which includes overseeing FBI interviews with Hillary and her top aides, and then Page, who was the top legal counselor for Andrew McCabe, the deputy FBI guy. They both thought for months a special counsel should have been appointed. They didn't want her being mad at them. And if Strzok and Page thought that then, doesn't that mean we should have a special counsel now? Because we have even more evidence that the fix was in, and that Hillary Clinton, scary, but she was protected. This was rigged, just like the rigged primary with Bernie. Now, we also have a new text about Andrew McCabe and his recusal in the investigation. Now, Page text Ribicki, remember that name, Comey's chief of staff, just called to check in. Well, he very clearly 100% believes that Andy should be recused because of the perception. Strzok says, God. Page replies, our statement affected the stock market. A little self-importance here. And Page adds, well, don't understand your email. If it's a matter similar to those we've been talking about lately, why no recusal before? Something different, question mark? And Strzok, I assume, well, McAuliffe, remember Terry McAuliffe, Clinton allies, former Virginia governor, picked up. But that doesn't make sense because he said he was interviewing, maybe he's headed into private practice. So Comey's chief of staff only wanted McCabe to recuse himself because of public perception, not because of the fact that McCabe's wife, remember, she got the $700,000 in a campaign and campaign contributions from Terry McAuliffe, an insane amount for any race in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and Democrats. It turned out to be a failed state Senate run.
Good.
You see the connections here? Andrew McCabe, deputy director, friends with Strzok and Page, private meetings, insurance policy, $700,000 for his wife. And then on top of all of that, Comey was not doing a real investigation. He was turning a blind eye to what we know were felonies and crimes committed by Clinton. Now, other Strzok and Page messages now indicate that the Attorney General, we told you this last night, Loretta Lynch, she also knew Hillary Clinton was not going to be charged. Strzok knew it, Page knew it, McCabe knew it, Comey knew it, and now Loretta Lynch. And this happened even after Lynch took a backseat in the investigation after getting caught talking to Bill Clinton on the tarmac for 40 minutes about grandchildren. Another lie. Now, we also know that Lynch told Comey to call the investigation a matter, not an investigation. Comey complied. This is the very definition of corruption in government, not rank and file FBI, not rank and file DOJ, not rank and file intelligence, no, the upper echelon. So we have top figures in Obama's FBI and Department of Justice literally betraying the rule of law and shredding the Constitution. Why? Because they wanted Hillary Clinton to continue on as a presidential candidate and not charged for the obvious felony she committed with the email server investigation, and she could beat Donald Trump in the general election, and they don't want to get her mad anyway. These facts, this evidence, is so transparent and obvious, a 10-year-old can understand it, except if you work in the news media in America. Now, the so-called investigation from the get-go, it was a sham. We now have the evidence. And the type of thing you only see in a banana republic. And all of that is a lot to take in and process. But this is only the start of information that we have tonight. The Daily Beast tonight is, in fact, reporting the classified 4-page memo. Names specifically, this is the first leak on this memo. We will probably get it after the State of the Union next week. That fired.
I couldn't find that report at the Daily Beast.
James Comey, the deputy FBI director, we were just talking about Andrew McCabe.
We'll get into that in a minute.
Attorney General Rod Rosenstein and deep state officials that abused their powerful FISA surveillance powers. They're all mentioned. Now, we don't know specifically what the memo says about these 3 corrupt officials and what they did. But here's what we do know. Top-ranking officials at the DOJ, at the FBI, they used and they abused the powerful, unmatched tools of intelligence that we give our government to protect us. But they used it in this case to spy on members of a presidential opposition party in a campaign year and then a president-elect. And the reason why they did it is to influence first the election and then undermine the choice of the American people. They never thought Donald Trump would become president because this group of deep state bureaucrats thought that they could subvert your will, the will of the American people. And no liberal mainstream media. You know what? We're not talking about, again, rank and file. We respect rank and file FBI, DOJ, intelligence officials. Those people work tirelessly. They risk their lives every single day to protect us and serve us. Here's who we've been exposing night after night. This is a rogue group of Obama administration holdovers that despise Donald Trump, then candidate, now president. They tried to stop him from becoming president, and since then, they have tried to undermine and unseat the president at every single turn. Now, this is why releasing this memo is of the utmost importance. And the reason the American people, we have been telling you about all of this can be exposed, all of this can be investigated, all crimes be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. We're asking you again tonight, keep up the pressure. Keep calling your members of Congress. Keep demanding that this memo be released. There's a number at the bottom of your screen, 202-224-3121. Tell Congress, release the memo. We are demanding to know truth. We want to see it, and then we want to see the underlying documents that support it, and also tonight.
Okay, Hannity's acting like the Daily Beast is his friends or something. These people absolutely hate him, and there is no memo here. I went through all this stuff, and the only thing you can find, I thought there'd be an excerpt or something from the memo, and they just have this right here, which you're looking at. And I love what it says right here. This is how stupid these people are, pushing the left-right paradigm. You know, here's what I wanted to say. Read this right here. The news spun the hashtag release the memo, because everybody wants to know what this is all about, right? And then read how this piece of shit frames the ending of this here. Democrats have emphasized Russian bots efforts were boosting the hashtag. And then it says, but a well-placed source told the Daily Beast yesterday that the bulk of the support, all those release the memo hashtags for the social media campaign, the hashtag, comes from actual Americans on the right. See that? Actual Americans on the right. No, it just comes from people who want the truth. It's not this left-right paradigm bullshit you people keep pressing. And that's just an honest-to-God fact. Americans on the right. How would they know? What, all those people that put that hashtag in, they studied their tweets and found a way to classify them as right, as opposed to being Democratic and left? I mean, come on now. And then look at this other thing they got here at the Daily Beast. Another Daily Beast article just to make you sick, and it was from today too. Sean Hannity already defending Donald Trump's attempts to fire Robert Mueller, a.k.a. every other news agency's running with headline. The Fox News host spent the first part of the show today, some of the show you guys just watched, the better part of it, the part that talks about the actual factual corruption. And look at what this Matt Wilstein, God, I hope the Democrats or whoever it is, this deep state that pays his bills, read what he writes in here. I mean, is this just not like this is news? You know? And then read the bottom. President Donald Trump tried to fire a special court last June. That was the news they were running with. He says, Hannity designed to spend a cool 53 seconds on the revelations that were dominating CNN and MSNBC Thursday night. Well, you know why they were dominating them? Because they don't want to talk about the truth, right? They don't want to talk about this overwhelming connective body of corruption that Hannity just outlined. No, they're talking about, Trump was going to fire Mueller during the middle of the investigation. Well, of course. Why wouldn't he? The thing is rigged. Everything we're finding out now, Trump and all them knew months ago. I mean, unbelievable, isn't it? It's just these shills. They're just sickening. So people should write to this here Matt Wilstein and let him know what a dumbass he is. Like, that's news compared to anything you just heard at the beginning of this video. And this I thought was kind of fun too. Hillary Clinton before. Or Hillary Chelsea Clinton before. Remember how ugly she used to be? I mean, she was butt ugly. Look at her now. She actually looks pretty good there. I mean, they got her in the right light, but I mean, she went from dog to a decent-looking daughter of a hawk. Sorry about this shaky camera. My other thing's broke. I got to get it fixed. Like I was saying, ladies and gents, earthlings. I'm sorry about the shakiness here. I got to get a few things fixed, but we'll let good old Tucker run with it here. He interviews Trey Gowdy, and another congressman saying the same thing. Here we go.
We're seeing text messages from inside the FBI. These texts are among the thousands sent between FBI agents Peter Strzok and Lisa Page between February and September of 2016. A lot of them are interesting. Here's a key text. The agents did exactly what you would hope agents would never do. They expressed concern about whether Hillary Clinton, if she was elected president, would take revenge against the FBI for the crime of investigating her. In exchange, from February of 2016, Agent Page told Agent Strzok, quote, "One more thing. She might be our next president. The last thing you need, us going in there loaded for bear. You think she's going to remember or care that it was more DOJ than the FBI?" Strzok told Page that he agreed. In other words, political concerns were at top of mind as they investigated this politician, Hillary Clinton. Congressman Trey Gowdy of South Carolina chairs the Oversight Committee in the House. He's a member of the Intelligence Committee, and he joins us to react. Congressman, thanks for coming on. Sir, are we reading too deeply into the exchange we just put on the screen, do you think?
Well, I don't think so, because you read that one in isolation. If you read all the text, it's clear that they did not want her charged. They wanted her to be the president of the United States. They really, really didn't want Donald Trump to be the president of the United States, and they concede throughout these texts that they did things differently in this investigation from any other investigation that they were part of.
So what I don't understand is, even if you're watching this at home and you think, well, I wanted Hillary to win too, and I don't like Donald Trump too, shouldn't you be a little concerned, maybe actually terrified, that FBI agents conducting a criminal investigation into a politician were worried about the political elements of the investigation?
Yeah, you could cut it right there.
Well,
Bottom line.
You may remember, as I do, Jim Comey telling us that the FBI doesn't give a whit about politics. He loved to tell us how apolitical the Bureau was. And here we have these texts. Of course, our friends on the left say, well, these are texts between two lovers. Yeah, that's right. You're much more likely to tell the truth when you don't think anybody else is watching. This, I think, is the unvarnished truth of how they viewed both her, him, and the investigation, and how they wanted it to turn out. Keep in mind, Tucker, all of this is done before she was ever interviewed. So the fix was in. Unfortunately, before they even interviewed the target of the investigation.
The fix was in.
What does it tell you about what they thought of Hillary Clinton? They believed if she became president, she would punish our chief law enforcement agency for investigating her. What does that say about their view of her or their understanding of her?
It's either that, or I think another reasonable construction could be that she would reward the DOJ, thinking it was more DOJ lawyers that concluded she should not be charged as opposed to the FBI. And that's actually how I read it, that she would give more credit to the Department of Justice. Keep in mind, reading these texts, it doesn't appear that anyone wanted her charged before they even knew what she was going to say. I read that to be they were concerned DOJ would get the credit for taking care of her more than the Bureau would.
You've taken an enormous amount of abuse, as have your colleagues on the Intelligence Committee, as has this channel, for daring to report this news as if asking questions about the behavior of law enforcement officials is unpatriotic. How do you respond to that?
Tucker, there's no one in Congress that has more respect for law enforcement. I spent 18 years working with them, and it's the best 18 years of my professional life, and always will be. I love law enforcement, which is why these texts break my heart. Bias is insidious. Bias is the one thing in a courtroom, Tucker, the judge will give you the broadest leeway because it infects and instructs every decision you make when you are biased for or against someone.
Right.
So when I see manifest bias, think back to other important cases in our country's history. I mean, Mark Furman got in trouble not so much for working the crime scene, but because of racial epithets that he had uttered earlier in his career.
That's right.
That's how seriously we take bias. I don't know why the left can't concede in this case that these two agents should never have been part of investigating her case.
Well, you would think that Democrats, at some point, it would occur to them that maybe most FBI agents aren't liberal. They're probably conservative. I'd be willing to bet money on that. So if you allow the FBI to let their agents make decisions on the basis of their political beliefs, maybe that's going to hurt Democrats at some point. Maybe all of us have a real interest in clean and ethical government, but they don't seem to have an interest in that right now. Why?
I don't know. I don't like bias. I don't like political bias manifesting itself in an embezzlement case. I don't like it in a bank robbery case. This was a incredibly politically charged case, as was and is the Russia investigation. So politics and political bias is even more important in a case like this. I don't know why the left is straining to minimize the manifest bias that was exhibited by these agents. I don't get it.
I'm sorry to say this. You got some totally unprincipled people up there with you. I'm sorry about that. Congressman, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Because you see, the bottom line with this whole thing is most of these news agencies aren't journalists. They're advocates is what they are. They're not doing good journalism. They're doing advocacy. And there's a big difference here. And then there's people on the inside who are part of the same committees as Gowdy, but oppose the thing in general because they're compromised by these deep state people. They're pedophiles and sexual deviants, and they fall for little tricks, and next thing you know, oops, we got you in camera, buddy. And the whole thing was set up by them in the beginning, and therefore they can be more easily manipulated and puppeteered, if you will. And this guy right here is a good example of it. I should have just let it play instead of fucking talking. Let's see if I can squeeze it in. Adam Schiff. He's on the same committee as Gowdy, but he has a totally different view. Gee, I wonder why. Maybe he's, I don't know, was brown-stoned and he's compromised because he's a sexual deviant? Perhaps. Come on, roll it, baby.
Congressman Gowdy's colleagues on the House Intelligence Committee is Democrat Adam Schiff of California. We've had a long-running dispute with the congressman on the matter of Russia. That began when he accused us of being agents of Vladimir Putin. You're on the Intel Committee. Let me just ask you one final question. Can you look right into the camera and say, I know for a fact the government of Vladimir Putin was behind...
Look at him. He looks compromised.
Absolutely. The government of Vladimir Putin was behind the hacks of our institution and the dump.
He can't say it.
Not only in the United States, but also in Europe.
Okay, you're not... You know what? You're not...
And Tucker...
No, look and say, I know they did. John Podesta's emails, they hacked
us. And I think that Ronald Reagan
is
rolling over
Ronald Reagan.
You're carrying water for the Kremlin.
I'm not carrying water for the Kremlin. You're a sitting member of Congress on the Intel Committee, and you can't say they hacked.
You're gonna have to move your shoulder to RT Russian television because
you know what? That's just so beneath your office because it's so dumb and you're being duplicitous. I'm asking you, did they hack Podesta's emails? And you can't say it. Look into the camera and say they hacked John Podesta's emails. We know for a fact that Putin's government did that. You can't, and you know you can't, and you're hiding behind weasel words.
Exactly. He's hiding behind weasel because he's a weasel. He's compromised, like I was saying. The whole Pizzagate thing, and if they say, oh, that's the problem, the Podesta emails were part of the Russian hack, which helped Hillary lose the election. Oh, why? Because we found out he's a sexual deviant too, Podesta. Was going to be, I don't know, vice president or whatever position they had him in, and all that sick art they collect. You guys want to look up something good? Google 2 words. Google Podesta art. Yeah, look at the shit those people collect. And that's why there's so much conflict in today's media and in the establishment of this phony government that's, doing what they do. Bottom line is hashtag don't vote. Something needs to change. Revolution, baby. Fivefold understanding. Anton Lamont. Subscribe to The Truth right here. Other than that, I think I'm going to go smoke some cigarettes and watch some Captain Kangaroo.